Hey everyone, this video is just going to be a Bitcoin analysis video. I'm not going to go over anything else, but I'm going to give my thoughts on Bitcoin and what I think is going to happen, or what I hope is going to happen over the course of the next few weeks, leading into the halving, and then post halving, and what we can expect. Okay. Now, I want to make one thing clear. None of this is financial advice. You shouldn't take any plays based off this analysis. This is just what I'm currently seeing and what I think um, is going to be happening. Now, people are still saying that we're not in a bull market. The bull market doesn't start until the halving. Well, to those idiots, we've been in a bull market since 25K. Okay. Um, once we, this is the line. This was the last lower high. Once we broke above that lower high and we broke the market structure, that is when we turned into a bull market. Okay, so you are about a year and 1 month late. Um, Still, if you're coping, then cope harder. All right. Anyways, so let's take a look at the market. Now, in a bull market, we will always have corrections. Okay, I want to make one thing clear. The last bull market, well, after the halving of 2020, right, we had many corrections of at least 20 to 30%. All right, now here is a few that I'm going to outline. Okay, so here was the COVID crash and the halving happened in April. Okay, here is a 20% dump. Okay, here is a 30% dump, 25% dump, okay, 30, well, 27 when we went higher, okay, and then we dumped after that again, all right, went higher again. This is still on a macro level bullish. We did not lose market structure, okay, we were making new higher highs. Here's this again, and there before we went higher, and then once we made a lower low and then failed to make another higher high here, we lost market structure at their point, but then here we are now. Bull market started here. Okay, we went up, we corrected 20%. Okay, here is your second correction. Okay, here is your take it from here to the wick down, right? And even if we have a 30% correction from here, we are still making higher highs and higher lows, and we have not lost market structure. All right, I'm going to remove these. So we had 7 or 8 corrections of at least 25 to 30% last cycle, and we've only had 2 or 3, okay, currently. All right, now if we were to draw a trend line, okay, we can come back and still bounce off 40K and still be bullish. All right, many don't think so, but it's still an uptrend here. Okay, just like it was an uptrend here, we lost it, turned it into resistance, and then went down. Okay, um, we can still do the same thing here. We've had 1, 2 bounces from there, and we can actually take liquidity here, put in a swing failure pattern, maybe on the monthly. All right, take this liquidity, close back below. Okay, then we have a swing failure pattern, and then we can go higher. Or sorry, we come back down, correct a little bit, and then go higher. Okay, so I'm leaving, this is a monthly line. I'm going to place this here. All right, so back on the weekly, let's draw some very important lines. Okay, so we have a weekly demand zone. from 45K down to 40K. Do I think we can get there? Of course I do, right? Nothing is ruled out, but 45K is still in contention. It's also an SR line. We broke out. We never retested that resistance area to confirm a an SR flip, so that is still valid. We have an order block. Okay, around 53 down to 50. Okay, these are possible bounce points. All right, now for those that are in Unity, myself and Wog had a stream, and he mentioned that we can go down to this 45K level. Now, this 45K level from this point on would be a 30-35% dump. This is very valid and still can happen. It's bullish if we do come back to get all of this liquidity that we left out on this breakout. All right, so I'm not saying this will happen, but it's possibly an option to happen. Okay. Um, we also had a resistance here around this 52K level. Now, I've spoken about this resistance level. This was the level that I mentioned on stream multiple times, that if we had broken out of, now this is a multi-week consolidation. Okay. Here's the consolidation. Once we burst through that level, I said we were going to make all-time highs. All right, said it a few times in videos, said it a few times in streams, and also in my channel. That's exactly what happened. We consolidated under resistance. Right, we had consolidation there, but we failed to break back above, and then there we are again. So this is a possible bounce point. This would be a 20% correction. All right, now on a lower time frame, you can draw this trend line, and if we are going to deviate here above these highs, come back, create that weekly SFP, this is the first bounce point that I'm looking at, like the first true bounce point. Okay, if we do get a major correction in the market. Right, now again, these are on higher time frame levels. Okay, I'll go on a lower time frame so we can see that as well. But 45 down to 40 is the major level that I want to hold, because if we do lose that, we are going down to this 35K level, which is a demand zone as well. Okay, so these are the levels that I'm currently looking at if we get major corrections, and I will be buying that dip as fast as you can, snap your fingers. Okay, now on a lower time frame, let's take a look at, let's say, the daily. So we need to reclaim the 69K to 70K level to go higher, right? I'm just going to draw a trend line here so you see what I'm talking about. And this is our resistance level. I'm going to go to a lower time frame, right? We had resistance here at 69-ish, okay? And then we broke out, retested it as support, held it, and then continue higher. Again, we just recently had the dump and then went higher. All right, now this 4-hour closure that we just had did sweep the lows and bounced off that trend line. Okay, this is a sweep of Monday or Sunday's lows from last week. If we are able to reclaim the 6970K level, we should go higher. Now this was another higher low based on this higher high. So as long as we stay above 69 to 70K, we should go to about 80, 82K. Okay. Now we do have some resistance here at this order block. So that's going to be our first test. Now that we have some data and structure, that's our first rejection level possibly. But if we do reclaim this, then I do see us going higher. Okay, this is a bull market. These are healthy corrections. And I read somewhere on Twitter that this dump that we just recently had, like not today, but this most recent 4-hour candle was due to the SEC postponing the ETH ETF because Democrats asked them to, or something like that. I'll look more into it, but that's what I just read. That's why ETH dipped so hard. But we need to reclaim this level to continue higher, right? Lose this level, then you are looking at 64K levels. So I am looking at this demand zone slash order block. This is a play that I gave in the server. Okay. So I'm looking for something as such, right, for higher. Okay. Now, if we do come back down to, here is our range low. Okay. If we do come back down to fill those orders, all right, then structure might change a little bit depending on how high we go, or if we just break down here. If we do break down, okay, your first main test will be this previous low. See if we reject from there. If we are able to reclaim, then we look for this bearish retest point, which is also our current SR point to reclaim. Okay, first touch we should reject from that level. Okay, but hopefully we consolidate under it and then reclaim it and then reclaim the trend line again to go higher. All right. Otherwise, if we do not hold this level, then the first bounce on a lower time frame will come at the 60K range low level. All right. Now this is on a lower time frame, so this was our range low to range high, back to range low, back to consolidation under these range high slash an all-time highs, and then breakout. All right, so this would be our range low levels, which is an area where you're going to look for longs. Either you can place limits and have a soft stop loss. Also, what can happen is we can go and grab the liquidity from this candle, right? SFP, reclaim range lows, and then continue to go higher. All right, so those are the different. Now, I wouldn't set limits. This would be a conditional order or a trigger. Okay, it would be an SFP, or you can enter in with a small position sizing here and add more once we reclaim these range low levels after we have swept this low. So you have to be monitoring the play if you're going to have a soft stop loss, and then we're going to look for higher. Okay, now these are both scalp plays. You should not be risking more than 2% of your portfolio on these plays because they are going to be super risky. Okay, now as I mentioned, on a higher time frame, sorry, if we do get these levels, you buy. Okay, alts are gonna have a hard time here with Bitcoin price going down and Bitcoin dominance rising a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, I do still think that we go to around 56, 57% before we have a true alt season, or before alts continue to run. Not continue, but actually start to run. Otherwise, lose this trend and turn it into resistance, then alt can go crazy. But I still think we go a little bit higher before, or on dominance before we go lower. We've rejected from this resistance a few times, so keep an eye out on that as well. Back to Bitcoin here. Wrong chart. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention is going into halving, we usually dump. I think it's the Bitfinex chart. Let me take a look. Okay, so last halving was April of 2020, right? Something like that. Um, obviously we had the March crash, so I'm not going to be outlining that as an indicator, but here is like a 50% dump leading into the last halving. All right. Prior to that was 2016. I'm just going to call it April. I don't know the exact dates. So here is April. So let's call it 2 months before going into the halving, right? 20% dump there. I'm just going to use these last two dates, but that's why I'm saying that there is a possibility that we could dump into the halving, which should be around this time, and that 20% would be around, if we dumped from the highs earlier today, okay, the 20% would be around that 58, 59K level, right? I mean, we can get a wick into it, but I would love to close above these range high levels to continue higher. Otherwise, as I mentioned, those two levels at 45K and this 50 to 53K level are the ones that we're looking for. Okay. This one, if we get it around 35K, it's a blessing. Okay. Now, that's what I'm looking for um, on Bitcoin. We definitely want to keep our eyes on this monthly chart over here because at this current time, we are creating an SFP. Now, our monthly, we have another 16 days to go, but if we close below here, all right, this is an SFP, and look what happened when we had an SFP on ETH on the monthly, right? Um, Here was an SFP. Okay, so after we took out those highs, okay, we closed below, we went to retest it, right? And as we did that, we just rejected and dumped from there. All right. Again, we took out the highs, but in this case, we just went higher. That's when Bitcoin was on its ascent. But we took out the highs and dumped 28%. Okay. Same thing could be happening here right now. If we do close out this now, 16 days is a lot to go for confirmation. But if we do close this out on a monthly level, look for the retest. And if we do reject there again, we could just be chopping here up until 45, 50K for the next year. Maybe alts go crazy then, but I think that the cycle, or at least this bull cycle, will end mid next year. So we have about a year. A lot of people are thinking it ends at the end of this year. I'm not really sure. My judgment says mid next year. But if you're not screwing around on leverage and literally throwing all your money away on trying to make it because you think you're going to get rich quick, then you can make some life-changing money. And all you got to do is just buy spot on the dips, leave some capital to compound if we go further, and then just chill on spot because it's less stress. You don't have to worry about these liquidation candles, and then we just go higher from there. All right, so that's my analysis on Bitcoin and what I think is going to happen leading into the halving, and let's see what happens. I'll be making more announcements in my channel and maybe on Twitter, but I'm going to be more involved in Discord than trying to post everything on Twitter. All right, thanks everyone.